I'm Ron Strickland. This webcast is one of a series in which I'm providing some brief lectures and commentaries on topics from the courses I teach in literature and cultural studies. This particular installment is one in which I'm looking at the prologue to the Wife of Bath's tale from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, and discussing the Wife of Bath's debate with the patriarchal order of Christian tradition and the Roman Catholic clergy, and her representation of her experience with men in her 5 marriages. In my last webcast, I looked at what she says about her relationships with her first 4 husbands. In this webcast, we'll be looking at her relationship with Janikin, her 5th husband. Now, of my 5th husband, I'll tell you what. God let his soul never come in hell, and yet he was to me the greatest scoundrel. He fell on my ribs one after another, and yet shall be until my final day. Now, so he was hitting her, his 5th husband. But in our bed, he was so lively and gay, and moreover, he so well could deceive me when he would have my pretty thing. One that he would on my belle chose, which is the French there. Though he had beaten me on every bone, he could win my love back again straight away. I believe I loved him best because he was of his love standoffish to me. We women have, if I shall not lie, in this matter, a curious fantasy. Note that whatever thing we may not easily have, we'll cry all day and crave for it. Forbid us a thing, and we desire it. Press on us fast, and then we will flee. We always want what we can't have. Every woman that is wise knows this. Well, my 5th husband, God bless his soul, whom I took for love and not for riches. He was formerly a clerk of Oxford, and he had left school and came to board with my close friend dwelling in our town. God have her soul. Her name was Allison. She knew my heart and also my secrets. To her I revealed all my secrets. For had my husband pissed on a wall or done a thing that should have cost his life, to her and to another worthy wife, and to my niece, whom I loved well, I would have told every one of his secrets. Whether it was that my husband pissed on a wall, which would be some embarrassment, or he had done some heinous crime, I was not loyal to him. I'd go tell on him if I knew it. So she's not faithful to her husband. Now, I'm going to skip over a little interlude that's kind of interesting. I'll just mention it. I haven't said much about the pardoner who rides with the summoner. In the description of the pardoner, he's described in some ways that scholars believe indicated that he was homosexual. And so, as the Wife of Bath is describing how she cheats husbands and describing what her husbands have all said about the woe that is in marriage for a husband, he's listening to this, and suddenly he interrupts her tale and says, well, after hearing all this, I guess I'll never get married. I was thinking about getting married, but now I'm having second thought after hearing this, right? Now, why does he say this? Some scholars think that he's protesting too much and he's trying to cover the fact that he's homosexual and act like a manly man on this journey before these other people in the audience. He never wanted to get married anyway. Maybe he was a confirmed bachelor, and this is just a way of affirming his confirmation, if you will, his choice and his predisposition in the first place. Anyway, she's not very impressed by what he says. Basically, she says, oh, shut up, kid. Let me go on with my tale. That's where we pick it up, line 563. Now will I tell forth what happened to me. I can say that in the fields we walked, until truly we had such flirtation, this clerk and I, that for my provision for the future, I spoke to him and said to him how he, if I were a widow, should wed me. For certainly I say this for no boast, I was never yet without providing beforehand for marriage, nor for other things also. I always have a plan B. I always know what I'm going to do next. I hold a mouse's heart not worth a leap that hath but one hole to flee to. If that should fail, then all is lost. I falsely swore that he had enchanted me. My mother taught me that trick, And also I said I dreamed of him all night. He would have slain me as I lay on my back, and all my bed was full of real blood. But yet I hope that you shall do me good. For blood symbolizes gold, as I was taught, and all was false. I dreamed of it not at all. Well, never let it be said that studying literature has no purpose in life. Here's a point to note. If you are interested in someone and maybe they're not noticing you, one possible approach is to say that you've dreamed of this person. Isn't this remarkable? Very flattering to have someone dreaming of you, even if you didn't realize it would be. It's been tried and true, and sometimes it leads to something. At least it's a way of opening the conversation. I pick up the wife of Bath's account here as she describes the funeral of her fourth husband and her attraction to Jankin, who's going to become her fifth husband. Although she is 40 years old by now, and he's only 20 years old, that's no obstacle to her. But now, sir, let me see what I shall say. By God, I have my tale again. Well, when my fourth husband was on the funeral bier, I wept continuously and acted sorry, as wives must do, for it is the custom. And with my kerchief I covered my face, but because I was provided with a mate, I wept but little, and that I affirm. To church was my husband carried in the morning, with neighbors who for him made sorrow, and Janikin, our clerk, was one of those. As help me God, when I saw him go after the bier, I thought he had a pair of legs and feet so neat and fair that all my heart I gave him unto his keeping. He was, I believe, 20 years old, and I was 40, if I shall tell the truth. But yet I had always a colt's tooth. With teeth set wide apart I was, and that became me well. Yet I had always a colt's tooth, gap-toothed he was, and that became me well. He was gap-toothed, recall from the other day. As help me God, I was a lusty one, and fair and rich and young and well-fixed, and truly, as my husband's told me, I had the best quonium might be. I had the best pudendum that might be. For certainly, I am all influenced by Venus. Venus gave me all my lust and my lecherousness, and Mars gave me my sturdy boldness. My ascendant was Taurus, and Mars was therein. Alas, that ever love was sin. I followed always my inclination by virtue of the state of the heavens at my birth. That made me that I could not withdraw my chamber of Venus from a good fellow. If you're keeping track, we've got quite a list growing now, quite a list of different terms for sexual innuendo. So here, we've had her quaint and her quonium and her pudendum and her things small and his silly instrument, and now we have her love's chamber, her chamber of Venus. And she wouldn't keep her chamber of Venus from any good fellow. This idea that the astrological sign that we were born under determines or influences our destinies was common in the 14th century, and we also see many examples of the idea in Shakespeare's plays 200 years later. Generally, the astrological argument is rejected or discounted in Shakespeare's plays by characters who have a more modern, practical, and skeptical disposition. It's harder to tell how seriously many people took the idea in the 14th century, but the Miller's Tale clearly ridicules Carpenter John's credulity in being tricked with Nicholas's ruse of astrological wisdom. And these arguments from the wife of Bath also seem intended to evoke laughter. Her arguments are all so one-sided and self-serving that anything she says must be taken with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, she makes many points that resonate deeply in her arguments and her critique of the gender power hierarchy. On that point, I'll conclude for now. But in another webcast, I'll take a look at the wife of Bath's account of the ups and downs of her relationship with her fifth husband, Janikin. As always, if you have questions or comments, send me an email.